Hey guys, I'm Greg. Welcome to Gregsbeerreviews today. Let's go see what's in the fridge today, guys. Hey everybody, thanks for stopping by Gregsbeerreviews today. Got a big 16-ounce can. This comes from Long Trail Brewing, and they're out of Bridgewater Corners, Vermont. I get some of their beers here, but I have not seen this particular version here. And from what I've read, this is their version of a heady topper style beer. So this should be, I'm looking forward to this. When I first started doing beer reviews 5 or 6 years ago, I tried a bunch of the Long Trail beers, and they were kind of transitional style beers. But over the last 6 months or so, I've had several of them sent to me, and they've been pretty damn tasty. I've been impressed. Whether they have a different brewer or they decided to step up their game and do some of the over-the-top beers, everything they were doing earlier were kind of transitional style beers. Something to get you out of the macros into something with a little more taste. But now a lot of these breweries are doing those style of beers, but they're also going and doing the bigger over-the-top imperial stouts and barrel-aged beers and heady topper or Pliny or whatever you want to call it, these super hopped up beers. And I'm assuming this is what it is. This is a fairly big beer. Still got the price tag. Rico sent me this. So Rico, thanks again, my brother. It's got $3.50 tag right here on the back. That's what he paid for it. And it's a 16-ounce can, and it's an 8.7% alcohol by volume on this, which makes it a double IPA. Or an Imperial IPA. Has 82 IBUs listed right here on the front of the can. The only fuss that I want to fuss about, and I'm going to fuss about it, there is no date on the bottom of the can. So we have no idea how old the beer is. Let me look here, and Rico says Long Trail Space Juice 8.7 IPA 82, no date, picked up last week. So he bought this last week. And then it's got that beer mail package last week. So he bought the freshest thing he could get. Long Trail Brewing is big enough to date their stuff. And whether they're dating, and this is an Imperial, so I would assume that it's sold in singles, 4-packs, and by the case. Well, if you're buying singles and your state allows them to break those 4-packs up and set them on a shelf, whether they put a sticker on the top of that 4-pack and it gets broke up and that 4-pack gets ring gets thrown away, you have no idea of knowing how old the beer is. So, Long Trail, you've stepped up your game and doing some of these better and bigger beers, but you need a dating machine. And it's probably going to cost you a grade point at the end of the review because you're not dating your beers. And you're sending your beers, you're in Vermont, and you're sending them to Virginia, and Lord knows how many other states you're sending them to. So you need to date your stuff, especially when you're producing this style of beer. If you want to get a better grade, you've got the ABV and the IBUs, but there's no date on it. How old is the beer that is sitting in front of me? How old? I have no idea. Rico had no idea. He just picked up the precious thing he could get. So, it's going to cost you a grade point at the end. I'm going to be straight up and honest with you because it's missing that information. We need to know how old the beer is. Not a best by date, not a best before date, like some of the other ones are doing, like 6 Point and some of the other ones. We want the canned on date, the bottled on date. Let us make the decision. Because a lot of you brewers do a 3-month, 4-month, 6-month. Some of them are even longer on this style of beer. So the ABV is going to let it still be good. A year from now, this beer is not going to be bad. It's 8.7%. It's not going to be bad, but all the hops will have faded by then. It's going to be a malt bomb. And if I would go in and pay $3.50 for this and not having a date on it, and I drank it or reviewed it, and it's a malt bomb, I'm going to burn your ass up on it because there's no date on it. So, enough of that. I harp on it all the time, guys, and y'all know that. I'm a date Nazi. I got to have the date on this style of beer. And y'all big enough to do it there at Long Trail. So, no excuses. No excuses. And like I said, it will cost you a grade point at the end. If it's a 10 beer, it'll get a 9. If it's an 8 beer, it'll get a 7. If it's a 6 beer, it'll get a 5. So, that's the way it is. That's the way this boy rolls. So, let's get on with this. Commercial description on this is a double IPA of the cosmic kind. The super limited brew is brewed with 2-row and caramel malts that lay the foundation for the hops, and more hops. The truth is out there, so send your taste buds into orbit with this out-of-this-world citrus and pine notes of Galaxy, Mosaic, Citra, Columbus, and Ella hops. A lot of nice hops used in this beer. Why it blows me away that they won't put a date on it. And I've told you this, guys, before. If you go in and you spend your money on this beer, and it's fresh, you'll go buy it again. And you may want to buy something else from them because it was so good. But if you go in and spend your money on this beer, and it's been sitting on the shelf 6 months, or 8 months, or a year, and it's not any good, you're not going to buy it again, or you might not even buy any of their beers again. So I don't understand the reasoning behind not dating it, unless you're a fledgling brewery, just getting started, hadn't got the money for the dating machine or anything. Long Trail, that's no excuse for y'all. Y'all been doing this a long time, and your distribution is many, many states. So there's really no excuse for it. It really chaps my ass that you find it not necessary to put a date on your stuff. And I know it's a can where everybody used to do bottles, most of them. And this is a can, so maybe y'all just got a canning line or anything, but the dating machine is just as important as the brew kettle as far as I'm concerned. And I'm going to leave it at that. So enough about the date. We read that, so let's get over to the food pairings for a double IPA. The cuisine is barbecue, the cheeses are peppery, Monterey, pepper jack, sharp blue cheddar, stronger cheeses, gorgonzola and Limburger. The meat for this is grilled meat, game, and salmon. That's why it's snifter, tulip oversized wine, guys. Got my favorite snifter today. And here it says it can be cellared, but don't do it, guys. Don't cellar your IPAs or double IPAs. You will regret it unless you're just a malt bomb head. That pour gives us about 2 fingers of head. It looks like a filtered beer. I can see right through it. Got some bubbles streaming up. Let's get a nose on it. For 5 kinds of hops, guys, I'm getting a little bit of citrusy, grapefruitiness in there. Maybe some tangerines. But not what I would call a West Coast style beer. Of course, they're in Vermont. They're not on the West Coast. But if they're trying to do something like a heady topper, it needs to have a date. Very citrusy on the nose. But I am getting a strong maltiness to it. So, and I don't know how long these guys have been canning. I don't know how long this particular version of this beer has been out. But that is the exact reason why there needs to be a date on the bottle of it. Well, it's time. Let's get it on. Let's see what we got. Cheers, everybody. Cheers, Rico. This is no heady topper. Strong malt. If I was guessing, I would say this beer was probably 3 or 4 months old, maybe even older. I'm just guessing there. by what I'm tasting and the maltiness that I'm getting. And with them using that many different hops, the hops have faded. Very well made. The alcohol's fairly well hidden, getting slight hints of some alcohol. It's almost 9%. But the malts are overpowering the hops, guys. Kind of disappointed with Long Trail on this one. And if it had a date on it and it was 2, 3, 4 weeks old, and it had that strong of a maltiness to it, I would say you're not using enough. It's not balanced. But not having a date on it, I have no idea how old the beer is. So, Rico, I'm sorry, buddy, but these guys are big enough to put a date on their beers, and I don't know how long they've been canning this particular beer. It's not blowing me away. It is definitely no heady topper, and I've read that from several different reviews people have done on this beer, that it's a pretty impressive beer. But I'm disappointed that I'm not getting that beer because I have no idea how old it is. So let me take it back and let her have sip 2 or 3 and sip on it for just a tad, and we'll come back and do the final grade. Not looking good for these guys. Alright guys, I'm back. Been sipping on it about 30 minutes. Decent beer. Not an A beer as far as I'm concerned. It's not outstanding. It's not world class. We have no date on it. I don't know how old the beer is. It's more malty than hoppy for a double IPA. Long Trail's big enough to do a date, and they chose not to. So I choose not to give them an A. Final chug. Decent, but not outstanding. It's not a super malt bomb at this stage, but I'm not sure how old the beer is. To me, guys, I'm going to give this the 7, which is a B+. Numeric rating on this will probably be an 88. Over to Beer Advocate, they say 91, outstanding. Evidently, those guys are getting a fresher beer than I'm getting. And over to Rate Beer, they say overall 97 and 91 in the style. They are definitely getting a better beer than I'm getting. And for our final check-in, we'll go over to Untapped, and Untapped has it at 3.98, which is their B+. I agree with that 100%. That's what it is to me right now. I got a feeling this is probably a very tasty, a very nice beer when it's fresh. And like I said, I have no idea. If this is what it tastes like fresh, it is definitely not an outstanding beer. It's not an A beer if it's a fresh beer. But we have no idea. No date. So, to me, it's definitely no heady topper substitute or copy or clone as far as I'm concerned. It does not come anywhere near that. What I have here anyway. So, until they put a date on each individual can, and they are capable of doing that, they just choose not to. That gives their beers a longer shelf life. And that costs them a great point in the end, maybe even 2, because they are big enough to do it. They're not a new brewery, they're not a small brewery, they are a big enough brewery to do it and choose not to. So I choose not to give them a very good grade with what I have in front of me here. Now, if I'd got this and it had no date and it was an excellent beer, I would probably give it a better grade than what I'm giving it because of the taste. But they need to date their beers. Bottom line. So, if you had this one from Long Trail, their Space Juice, let me know what you think. I was unimpressed. B+ beer in my opinion, and probably lucky to get that grade at this stage, not knowing how old the beer is. But Rico, thanks again, my brother. I appreciate you spending your hard-earned money on this. You have no control over how old the beer is when you pick it up at the beer store and send it to me. So, me personally, if I had this beer available at the beer store here and I seen it and I picked it up and it had no date on it, you know what I would do with it? I would set it right back up on the shelf. That's what I would do with it. So, and if I did buy it and it was what I have here, I would never buy it again. So, Long Trail, step up to the plate. Put your big boy pants on and date your stuff. So, with that being said, and I personally haven't bought any Long Trail beers here recently just because of that, because they don't date their stuff. So if you've had this one, let me know what you think. Yeah, you may have got a fresher can or whatever. I don't know if they bottled this particular version or not. It was something brand new or something they've been doing. I don't know how long they've been canning their beers. So when they decided to do the canning, they should have had a dating machine to go along with that canning process. So that's just me. It's just my OCD, guys. So if you've had it, let me know what you think, guys. Come on back tomorrow. We're going to dig something tasty out of the fridge. I bet it has a date. We'll see. See you then.